I'll remove this and we'll talk about my little eBay rant that I that I put into the thumbnail for this. This seems to happen all the time with them. I feel like it is, they do not give their sellers sufficient notice about changes that they're making. And so the change that happened was that they increased the fees again, and this is one of the things that I am a big proponent of eBay. I like eBay. I like selling on eBay. That's where my store is. That's where I sell a majority of the comics that I sell. And I like the fact that it's kind of a set it and forget it type thing where I can list the books, then eBay does the work. That's one of the things I really like. But the problem has been that over the last couple of years, they have continuously been raising their fees, and they do it in legitimate, I call it like legitimate ways and kind of underhanded ways when they're doing it. And my concern is that they don't seem to have a method of increasing their revenue. I mean, they're a publicly traded company. They always have their wanting to increase their profit and all that kind of stuff. They don't really seem to have any good ways of doing that other than taking more out of their sellers. And so then that ultimately ends up making stuff more expensive because sellers then need to raise prices to compensate for the increased fee. Now, it's not a huge amount, but it's that they keep inching it up. So I went back and checked 2 years ago, my eBay fee with my store. And so if you don't have a store, it's different. But with my store 2 years ago, it was 11.5%. Then a year ago, it was 11.7%. And then at some point last year, they raised it to 12. And then they just raised it to 12.35. And so they've gone from 11.5 to 12.35% in about 2 years. That's an increase of 0.85%. I mean, that's an increase of about 7 or 8% in eBay fees. And when you're in what you pay, so like if I say I paid $1,000 in eBay fees over the year, that's another $70 I've got to give them. And so that's just one of those things where they keep like eating away at the sellers. And then they added the eBay fee to the sales tax, then they added the eBay fee to the shipping charges. And so it's all these little kind of like underhanded ways as well that they seem to kind of like sneak more fees in. And so that's my rant about this, because they keep raising the fees and they don't really let you know. Now they had a little notice that went into like your seller dashboard where it's like the winter seller update. And, in there, it tells you it's like, oh, we're going to be raising fees on a number of categories, but they didn't send an email. There wasn't anything like that. Like I usually don't read those things because it's usually just a bunch of fluff that's in there. But it seems like now I got to start checking those, because what I do is normally because I'm used to them just raising fees randomly, I will check. Like I have my little spreadsheet where I keep track of everything that has sold, and I check my eBay fee against what they say it was at the beginning of every month. And that's just in case they decide to raise it, that I catch it early. And at the beginning of the month, everything was fine. And then all of a sudden I sold something, yesterday or the day before, and I checked and I was like, why doesn't this match up? They raised it on the 15th. So the middle of the month, they raised it. So I had to just go back and I had to adjust my spreadsheet and all this kind of stuff. So it's just little annoying things like that where I feel like they could do a better job letting their sellers know that they're making these changes. Send out an email, make it really obvious. I mean, I don't know. It's just, I know that they probably don't really want you to realize it. And they probably hope that maybe you don't catch that they're, they're just nickel and diming and pulling at, more and more fees. But yeah, that's my rant. It's like they don't let you know. And then also just the fact that they just seem to continue to raise them. I mean, at what point do they stop? Or is it just forever they're going to be raising fees year after year after year? I mean, that was 2 increases in the last year. And so, yeah. So it's something for me that's really frustrating. So yeah, I see the comment about my slabs. I know they have the 1%. But yeah, I could go over there, but basically what I do, and so this is for anybody that watches the channel, because I do have a number of people that have reached out, that have bought something from me on eBay. If you reach out to me on Instagram, I will give you a better price because I use PayPal goods and services on Instagram instead of the eBay fee. And so it's like 3% versus the 12%. And so I just give that discount to the person that's buying it, because for me it's all the same. So if you are ever interested in something, you see something on that that eBay store, and just know that I will give you a better price if you just reach out to me on Instagram. And so that's why I like selling on eBay, but I also, and if they reach out to me on Instagram, then I can, cut a better deal.